So welcome all of you. I am the Archivist of the United States. I'm a research librarian by training. Grew up in the libraries at MIT. Spent 31 years there. And then went on to Duke University, where I was the librarian for 8 years. And then 5 years as the director of the New York Public Libraries, my first experience in the public library environment. And I have been the Archivist of the United States since November of 2009. So in my life, as you can imagine, I've seen the impact of technology on my business in terms of the ability to connect people with the information that they need. Very excited in seeing the applications that the internet has allowed us to do over that period of time to first of all connect users firsthand instead of having mediated kinds of interactions with the information. Because I learned in the paper environment that the more we talk to our users about how they're going about their work or how they're using the collections, records, whatever the material is, we learn so much more about this. So the next progression then is what can we do? How can we enable the users to help us? This whole crowdsourcing kind of environment. I am now in a situation where I have 44 facilities around the country, from Anchorage, Alaska to Atlanta, Georgia, with the records of the country. Franklin Roosevelt started the National Archives, so it wasn't until 1934 that we actually had a mandate from the government to create this organization. So anything that exists in terms of government records before that, it's just luck. Records were stored in attics and basements and subject to fire, flood, theft, destruction, wanton destruction. And we have, I'm proud to say, we have records that go back to Valley Forge. We have all of the oaths of allegiance that were signed at Valley Forge, George Washington's signature on them. We have the journals of the Continental Congress, wonderful conversation that took place at the end of the Congress where the representative from Jeremiah Clark from New York raised the question, shouldn't we destroy these lest they fall into the wrong hands? And they left it up to George Washington to make the decision, and thank God he made the right decision because we have those records. So it's an extraordinary set of materials, and including, of course, the Declaration, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, the originals, which we have because of Dolly Madison. The night before the British burned down the town, it was Dolly Madison who said to her husband, get those things out of town. And they were rolled up, stuffed in linen bags, taken into the mountains of Virginia to protect them until it was over. So the net result is I am responsible for about 12 billion pages of textual records, about 40 million photographs, miles and miles of film and video, lots and lots of artifacts, wonderful 2 fingers, 2 vials of gold dust. We have all kinds of stuff. 600,000 things in the 13 presidential libraries, gifts of state and gifts from the American public to presidents. So it's an extraordinary collection. And right now, about 8 terabytes of electronic information. We are fast moving into an environment where what is being created electronically. So in the my work is governed by 2 sets of laws, the Federal Records Act, the Presidential Records Act. On the Presidential Records Act side, in 1996, electronic communication was recognized for the first time. So we started collecting electronic mail from the Reagan Library, the Reagan administration. So we have, to give you some sense of scale, we have 8 million email messages from the Reagan administration, 20 million from the Clinton administration, and about 210 million from the Bush 43 library collection administration. And when I met with George Bush to go over the plans for his new library, which is the newest one to come online, he's very proud of the fact that there's so much electronic content. It's actually turns out to be about 260 million electronic records, 210 million are mail, electronic mail. And he leaned over his desk and said to me, and not one of those is mine. So that was last June, and I was there last Monday for the topping out ceremony on the new library, and in front of this huge crowd of people, he used that same line, and not one of them is mine. So, for those of you who are interested in wiki projects, we have a lot of stuff, and my goal is to get as much of that online as possible, because I am firmly convinced, and I've said this everywhere, for most people now, especially your generation, if it's not online, it doesn't exist. So, it just doesn't exist. First line of defense is to go online, and usually Google, so you do a Google search, or if you're fortunate and really know Wikipedia, then you go to Wikipedia first. But to get the information, you need to start your search. So I can still remember when I was a librarian at Duke, arguing with my librarians who were wringing their hands about people who are using online sources only. How are we going to get them? All right, so get over that, and let's figure out ways we can get this content digitized. Let's not fuss about all the paper. Let's figure out how we can convert that into digital content that people will be able to use all over the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's the goal. So, as you can see, I'm a huge fan of Wikipedia, and have been defending it seems, since the very beginning. And part of that, and thinking about why that is, some of it has to do with my experience at MIT, where Tim Berners-Lee, towards the end of my time at MIT, Tim Berners-Lee, who created the World Wide Web, came to MIT to do his work, and he started something, this international encyclopedia, which divided up the intellectual world into various categories, and it basically crowdsourced the experts in those fields to create this new kind of online encyclopedia. It lasted probably 2.5 years. It doesn't exist anymore. But it was my first experience with crowdsourcing intellectual information to share over the internet, a wide-scale kind of new way of sharing information. Editing, each of these experts had editing capabilities and opportunities for the crowd to comment, react to, not directly change, but interact with the information that they were getting. So that was my first kind of crowdsourcing experience. And the Wikipedia thing just is, for me, it's an extraordinary, extraordinary opportunity for the National Archives to get their content out there, to share it with the world. And I am so proud that we are one of the few institutions in the world who has our own Wikipedian in residence. Dominic, in the short time that he has been here, has done an incredible job internally in terms of educating all of us about the potential, but also in demonstrating the power of Wikipedia. One example, we do something called Today's Document, where the staff picks an interesting historical document from our records, puts up a digitized copy of it with some commentary on why it's important. We get about 1,000 hits on that. So Dominic took one of those and put it on the WikiCommons, Media Commons, and 12 million hits. Is that something? So that's what I want. I want 12 million hits. I spend a lot of time, I mentioned this before, but I spend a lot of time trying to educate folks, teachers especially, about Wikipedia because they have an attitude. Last week I was in Hartford, Connecticut with Senator John Larson, meeting with a group of superintendents and teachers from Hartford, Connecticut, to talk to them about something we have called Docs Teach, which is about 5,000 images of primary sources from our records with lesson plans. And somehow, I didn't bring it up, but somehow the conversation got around to Wikipedia. And to a person, they were trashing Wikipedia as the most evil thing that's ever been created. They won't let their students use it in the classroom. And I'm like, whoa here. This is the best thing that you can put into your students' hands. This is a great opportunity for them to learn about how we're going to communicate in the future, how they can contribute to sharing information. So this is an ongoing fight. I know you've probably encountered it yourselves in your own lives, but we're all on a mission here. So I'm very pleased to have you with us today. You're going to see some extraordinary stuff, and I hope you'll come back physically or virtually and spend more time with us. Nice to have you here. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Yeah.
I was wondering, about the thing about people being skeptical of Wikipedia. I guess I was because I didn't know about the quality of the information, the data that's on there. I just wonder if maybe there's some kind of, somebody clicks on it to begin with, and there's some kind of introduction to the product, talking about the data gathering and stuff like that. Maybe a page or two worth of description.
Isn't there a link?
No,
but online.
There's a lot. The problem about Wikipedia is everybody's used it for so long because they always, it's always on Google search results, and very few people know what it is. Like, there was a survey not that long ago, the vast majority of people didn't know that Wikipedia was edited by everyone, it's just written by random people. They didn't even know they could change it. So people just don't know what Wikipedia is.
I was in a school classroom with some young man was really surprised to find out anybody could edit this stuff.
Yeah.
My issue when I was a college professor and my students using Wikipedia for research I didn't think it was evil, and it's a good, easy, quick reference tool. It solves a lot of arguments between my friends and myself. But I wanted them to see the actual sources. Like when I wanted them to look up Wilson's, 14 points, I wanted them to see them for themselves. I didn't want them to see a summary of them or somebody else's interpretation.
That's why those links are so great. You click on
the external links.
But again, with students.
Yeah.
So in the Arlington County schools that I mentioned earlier, Facebook is not allowed, but Wikipedia is, so I guess they're not.
Facebook is not online.
Yeah.
A question and a comment. So the question is about the National Archives. What is the content? So is it limited to things that were produced in the U.S., and does it go all the way back into colonial pre-United States? And then the comment is, as a genealogist, I want to see those primary sources because often there's a problem. But the transcription of them, getting the digital images, bravo. But then the next step is to get transcriptions that are searchable. And do you have projects? And Wikipedia works because of the huge number of volunteers. Do you have a plan to bring in people from around the nation to help you transcribe?
I will be talking about that a lot more.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
I just want to brag a little here to let everyone in this room know that I did my first transcription on Thursday morning. So we have something that we're about to unveil that's going to knock your socks off.
An automatic transcription.
No.
That's coming too. But you'll hear more about that.
God bless you.
Well, that's because, can you read handwriting now?
It's hard.
Yeah. Most school kids now cannot read handwriting.
Go read 1700 handwriting.
Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, yeah.
So that stuff has to be transcribed in order to be used.
Autograph letter.
Is there any way that we have of finding out just what kind of information is in the archives? Because you've got all these millions of documents, and one of the reasons I think, even if the thing is ultimately all transcribed, digitized, unless it's indexed on Google or something like that, we're never going to know whether you have something that might be of interest. Do you now have, or do you plan to have, any way of cataloging all of the material? Not just the transcribing, but the cataloging so that one...
See, that's how much people don't know about us.
Yeah.
So that woman sitting in the back there has spent, the last 2 years...
Gave for cataloging.
The online public access catalog, and somebody will be talking about that, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I have a technical question about imaging. I imagine if you have documents with very fine print, you want a higher resolution. Does Wikipedia have storage to deal with that? Because I know yesterday I was involved with cultural attaché, and he wanted a map of first time America was written, and we have 500 dots per inch for that. But I mean, so if someone scans it at 500 dots, will they be able?
That map is actually online at several sites, so there are already high resolution images available online for that.
Just to give the Wikimedia party line on that, we wanted it as high resolution as possible. We don't know what kind of display devices will be available in the future, and we want this to be able to last, a real long time.
David, this is what I hear more and more, that the expectations, it used to be the access copy didn't have to be, 300 dpi. It didn't have to be that high resolution. And now, that as people want to be able to zoom and mash it up, and more I hear it, the highest resolution possible online, which takes a lot of storage, and but that's what we're going to.
When images and documents are uploaded, is there like a signature or digital signature that says it's the source is National Archives?
Are we tagging the images?
Yeah. I will show you in detail what they look like when we're uploading.
Are you like anything else that can be edited? But
Okay, so I've been working on this Netflix project, which is like I just go upstairs, put the DVD, put it in the machine, and duplicate it. But and then you might be moving on to video cassettes. But I understand there's some robotic scanner thing that you have that will automate the process of taking video, putting it in the machine, pressing the button, and that would help speed up the process. And what are the plans? One, can we see that when we go on the tour? Two, are there plans to?
We'll check on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
definitely.
Plans to make use of that.
We have, we're in this. For those of you who don't know, we're in this huge, massive transformation of the agency, creating basically a new agency. And one of the important new initiatives is getting our act together around the digital experience. So that means creating digital content. So we're a huge emphasis, as you heard me say, about getting as much of our content digitized as possible. And this is the film and video is a huge part of that.
You could automate what we're doing, and then we could do something else that
Exactly. If I can make a comment to follow up on that, and I'm not speaking officially as a member of the Library of Congress because I also work for the library, but we're also doing some things like that. The National Jukebox has just been unveiled, and we also have other things, film and media and things of that nature. I'm not sure what Manuscript Division is doing, but I do think that they have some digitized sub-material that they have.
And one of the important aspects, thanks for reminding me, one of the important aspects of our new digital strategy is closer collaboration with our partners at the Library of Congress and the Smithsonian, so that we're sharing expertise. You had your hand up.
Yeah, I was actually curious, but I think it probably ties into the agency transformation. How do you approach sort of cultural change? Sort of related to the story you were telling about Duke librarians, I imagine it's similar at NARA.
Oh, yes. So you'd probably better hear that from the staff than from me. But let me just tell you, my 2 cents on this is all of these large cultural institutions have a huge problem in dealing with change. Okay, so the way most of them have treated technology is that it's someone else's responsibility. There's so many people over there is responsible for it, but don't bother me. Let me do my work. And the trick is to make it core. It is the way we do our business now. So let's get over and here's a good example, because it's not based on the National Archives, but it's based on the New York Public Library. I was hired in 2004 to be the director of the 4 research libraries of the New York Public Library. When I came on board, I inherited a digital library program, which was considered the 5th research library. Instead of it being core to how the New York Public Library does its business, it was literally treated as a separate environment, so that the staff had no ownership or sense of excitement about what was going on in there, or any kind of thinking about how can my content contribute to the greater whole for the huge organization. So we did a transformation at the New York Public Library also to kind of put that at the center. We created a digital experience laboratory, hired Josh Greenberg, who you may have heard of, to create that and run it. And it is now, if you look at the New York Public Library website, you'll see that it is core now. So that's kind of where we're headed.
I've been a user of all those libraries you've listed, and the key part that I found that really got me going quickly to what I needed was the humans.
Yeah.
And I really want to say I appreciate over the years the librarians that I've been able to access, and get quickly to the materials I needed for my job. Don't let them go.
No. That was, and thanks for reminding me, because that was a huge message from Josh also, because what he was trying to do is to figure out how do you capture that element in the experience, because it's key to success. The intellectual capital that individuals have, something that I've come to appreciate in my short time here. We have experts who know these records backwards and forwards, and how do we capture that? Especially in an environment where these folks are aging out, retiring, and leaving with all of that intellectual capital about our records. So that's the challenge we have. How do we capture that?
The library has the same issue.
Yeah. Well, all of these institutions do.
I just remember David Goodman, one of our other people up at Wikimedia New York, he's a librarian, and he always said, the librarian's job is to get the resource that the customer wants into their hands. And that strikes me as being tying right into what you said about intellectual capital.
And in terms of, I was a reference librarian for forever. And the longer you're a reference librarian, the better you know your collection. And the better you're able, just because of your experience, to connect people with the information. So how do you replicate that? How do you the whole reference interview, starting with the reference interview, because 9 times out of 10, the first question has absolutely nothing to do with what the need is.
I would actually say it's teach me how to ask a better question than the question I actually ask.
Very good. Yeah, but that's hard, because very often, at least in my experience, the nature of the project changed through this interchange.
No, that's what I mean. The human being, I've always found, I walk in thinking I want blank from the collection, only to find out the collection was broader, deeper, different than I thought, and that human being helps me then ask a better question.
So this reminds me of a study that we did when I was at MIT 100 years ago, analyzing reference questions. We had a new technology guy who was really interested in trying to replicate the interview process, the reference interview online. And so we did this study with a big sheet of paper like this at the reference desk. So reference librarians would, in the upper left-hand corner, the initial question, this was the question that was asked, and then the process that went through and down here was the real answer. Hysterical, because they were 90% of these.
No issue.
Yeah. You guys have a very busy schedule. It's great to have you here. And please come back, okay?
Is anybody else staring at it the whole time? Sorry about that. Okay, I'm gonna get right into it. David talked a lot about the, theory behind this. So I just want to show you, what we're doing. So this is our, project hub on Wikipedia, and I guess one thing I was talking about with Pam is, some other institutions have also done similar kind of cooperative efforts with Wikipedia, and most of them have oftentimes been museums. And so, there is a kind of a cultural difference And one of them is that museums are a lot more comfortable doing public education and talking about their expertise, whereas archives just like to collect things and show them to people. So I'm actually I'm gonna show you what we're doing. I'm gonna go the back way, and I'm gonna start with instead of Wikipedia, I'm gonna start with Wikisource, which will help kind of answer the question that someone had about transcription too. Usually when we're talking about a cooperation with Wikipedia, what I really like to stress is that it's a cooperation with Wikimedia, because as most of you know, it's really a family of projects, the Wikimedia projects. Wikipedia is the encyclopedia project, but there's other projects that are especially relevant to the archives, like Wikisource, which is the repository of text. And so the primary goal of Wikisource is to get every text ever online, digitized, and transcribed. And so a lot of the work of the editors is humans transcribing text and then arranging them so they're presentable for the web. So this is the main page of Wikisource, and if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see there we are. So this is the project, the equivalent project on Wikisource. So to start with, just to give you an idea how it's working, this is what it looks like in progress. This is our table of progress. The editors come and who know what they're doing will see this. And these are individual documents, and this is the process where we, retrieved the scan, converted it to a JPEG, created an index page, proofread it, and then each page gets validated by an independent editor. Each transcription. Yeah.
How is it proofread?
I'll show you. And feel free to interrupt me with questions. So if we look, actually, I'll show you. These are the completed works. So this is a list of works that are finished, and if you're, let me get a longer one. Here we go. This one. So if you're coming here from the web, this is the page that you'll be presented with. So this is plain text, searchable, and represents the formatting of the original. But the way this actually came about is, and you'll see all these little links to each page. If you click on one of these, you'll see this is where the page was transcribed by editors. So there's a little green bar at the top, and you notice that those links were all green. Green is for validated. When you come to Wikisource, if this hasn't been transcribed before, the way it works is you're doing side-by-side transcription of the scan of each page, and this will be blank, and you'll type it into the page. You're in the edit window, and you just transcribe it. And there's a lot of cool formatting tools and things. So the first person transcribes it, and it'll look. If you look at the history, you'll see there are two editors here. First person transcribed it, and it was yellow, which is either proofread, meaning there may have been like an OCR text or something, so that's why it's called proofread, the first transcription, or actually fully transcribed, originally transcribed. So it's yellow for proofread, and then all these pages are marked, as needing review, and then the next person comes along, and there we go, and we could actually, that's not as exciting. So that was perfect, I guess. They just changed the page status, but you could actually see if they had made a change too. So this is how that process works, and the end result for the archives is you'll see we're making this the list of completed works one of the reasons for that is, if I go back to this is what it looks like on Wikisource, but obviously Wikisource isn't Wikipedia. It's not at the top of all your Google results, and it's not the National Archives online catalog. So in order to find this, you actually will find a transcription. Oh, these are still links to ARC. Sorry, but I can show you our online public access newer catalog. So if you're searching in the catalog and you get to this documents page, you'll see, we have links now. And last time, if you heard it last time, I said this maybe sometime in the future we'll have links to Wikisource. We do now. So you'll come here and have a link to a transcription direct from the catalog.
Does this workflow have any automated proofreading, like spell checkers?
Well, a spell checker might not be, for transcription. You want to reproduce the actual, that's the reason that there is independent review, is to check things. And so really, humans are the best way to do it. But yeah.
It's efficient, if you're doing a machine auto OCR.
Right.
And if
yeah.
you do that, then that helps to flag the things with something human. then the human can work.
I'm sure there are. Right. There are like tools like that.
That's probably a good first time.
Yeah. So this. Yeah.
Because we're digitizing videos, can Wikisource be used, or has anything been
to transcribe?
Because it's different in one sense that the captioning part, built into the video, but a transcription would also be nice.
It's a good question. So if we go back and look at none of them have been. Oh, actually, okay. So here's one that's been proofread. So if you look back, some of these are ones that have been. So we're only putting validated, completely validated documents, linking them to the catalog. So things that have been vetted. So this is a list of things that have been proofread and are waiting to be validated. And one of these is actually a video. So this is one of the cool things that we're just starting to try out on Wikisource. But we've uploaded, or some volunteers actually, have uploaded videos to Commons. And so this is another cool thing. Some of them have begun to be transcribed too.
Is the captioning part of that? Or is
this
incorporated into the video?
There's that new extension on MediaWiki, right? This is very low tech. This is just typed into Wikisource.
It could be cut and paste.
And we've yet to develop. Right. And I think a lot of that is because the people on Wikisource aren't the same people that are working with those kind of tools. So if we could bring people together, that would help. Yeah.
Just to kind of back out, can you explain the relationship between Wikipedia, Wikimedia, and Wikisource?
Yes. I guess to start from the beginning. So originally there was just Wikipedia, and at a certain point in time, when Wikipedia took off, they founded Wikipedias in other languages, and it was originally, there was no, it was just kind of a philanthropic effort from a company or I don't know exactly how it was funded originally, but there was no charitable foundation. So that was the next thing that the Wikimedia Foundation was formed. So that's why I'm referring to Wikimedia. And along with other languages and things, there were other similar reference projects. So when I say Wikimedia is a family of projects, there's other projects like Wiktionary, which is the dictionary project, Wikinews, WikiQuote, Wikibooks. A lot of other similar kind of reference projects where the common thread is the wiki element. So in terms of we refer to them as sister projects. So Wikipedia is the encyclopedia project. Obviously, it's what everybody knows. So it's kind of hard to talk about it in those terms. But Wikisource is just a smaller but similar kind of sister project of Wikipedia. With the same, if you have a Wikipedia account, if you go to Wikisource, you have an account there. It's all the same kind of entity.
So the foundation is Wikimedia?
Right, the Wikimedia Foundation.
And Wikipedia is a project that it sponsors.
Right. And to make things more confusing, the Wiki software, which is also a project, is called MediaWiki. Right. So, yeah, it's confusing.
Okay. So Wikipedia and Wikisource are both examples of projects of
yeah. Right. And there are plenty of other, wikis and, nonprofit educational wikis. But this is, one combined.
The Wikimedia family,
right? Exactly.
Is so it's not that Wikimedia is a thing on the side of Wikipedia or something.
Right. Exactly.
It's that Wikipedia is actually one of the projects.
The
foundation is the media thing.
So we call ourselves Wikipedians, but a lot of times, especially if you work on multiple projects like I do, you could call yourself a Wikimedian.
So just because Wikipedia is so well known.
Right, and I think we need to do a better job of, making people aware.
Random people like me have the relationship completely inverted.
Right. Yeah, and especially for institutions like this, Wikisource has been really underutilized because it's a great platform, and it's just waiting for a lot of people to come and transcribe everything. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry.
Are you planning to link Wikisource to the teacher resources on, say, like archives.gov?
Well, we're starting to like Docs Teach. We're starting to think about that. Right now we have 30 documents in that completely finished and linked to the catalog phase. 30 more that are proofread, and then 100,000 more, that were uploaded, process of uploading, and in various states. So that's the next step. Like I have an Excel spreadsheet on my computer right now that has every document that's in the Docs Teach website, just because that's a good place to start things that we want to target for transcription.
And then, sorry, back to the proofreading.
Yeah.
I used to work for the papers of John Jay, and so I'm very familiar with transcription, especially 17th, 18th century documents. And so, would you maybe perhaps enlist the help of experts from archives to sort of monitor the quality of the transcriptions to sort of help along with that?
Well, part of the benefit of Wikisource is that it's self-run, but it's also vetted for quality. So, essentially we can trust what it produces as validated. But at the same time, I would say if the National Archives ever wants to put Wikipedia editing into somebody else's job description also, so I'm not the only person, then of course. But yeah, that's not really something that we're doing.
Social media team sort of recruit people from, the consultation room or people who are experts in certain fields to review these documents, just to see what's happening once in a while. I'm not saying on a regular basis, but to just check, because I've dealt with interns that have worked under me and they've done their transcriptions, and I'll look back at it and this is not, the meeting of the Continental Congress that you're discussing here. They transcribed the Mad Hatter's Tea Party.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
Yeah. Well, my role here is to organize volunteers. So we have people with expertise, but we don't have we don't have those people doing that yet. So definitely that kind of integrating people with jobs more.
I volunteer mine for Continental Congress.
Get her card, okay? Volunteering.
That's right.
Yeah.
I could help you with that.
I train people to do it. I've done it.
Some of it too.
My work is published. My transcriptions are
Wikipedia.
Please do.
Yes, in the back.
how do you nominate stuff to be transcribed? Because if you open that process of nomination up more to the public, you might get a lot more activities.
So there's no nomination process. Essentially, the way it works is, I can show you how things are being uploaded, but
who makes the choices?
Whoever wants to do it.
Right.
But they don't know what you have. I mean, maybe put up 100 possibles and say vote, or pick one and start transcribing it.
It's completely self-directed. So there's whatever we've uploaded, which is I'm trying to upload everything. Once it's uploaded, it's fair game.
So eventually there'll be billions of possibilities that as a volunteer I can come in and pick one and transcribe.
Yeah, I can. So I showed you this. This has all these possibilities, right? Most of these are things that people have. You can see a lot of the steps are done, so people have taken interest in this. But we're in the process. So some of the Wikipedians here have heard of how I said I have like 120 something thousand things that I'm uploading right now, which isn't the whole catalog, but it's what I have ready. This is 123,000 National Archives files. This is a terabyte. So this is what I'm doing. Right now, as we speak, my computer is uploading documents.
Dominic, is that the metadata, or is that the objects, or is that both?
These are the files. There's a very, very complicated process for getting them online. So these are the files themselves, which have no metadata.
It's the record. It's the descriptive records.
It's the image of the original.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
So it's not that. It's gotta be 1 terabyte. It could be anything else. It's huge.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. So
I have a question about the underlying infrastructure in the back. The web changes. The HTML5 is coming. So I assume you have the images somewhere, and then you have the versions and other things. And as the web changes, how portable is this? And there are 5 standard browsers. Can you give a little context to?
Okay, I'm going to have to give my disclaimer that I work on Wikipedia, and everybody assumes I'm a techie. But I'm in the library school, and I'm a history major, and so we have a lot of cool technological things going on, and a lot of that's because some very nice volunteers that I've been able to corral have done that. So I don't know if I can answer that question.
Okay. So you would say that
and
Firefox is a good front end.
Could do better.
But as long as it's in plain text, the transcriptions, and that's guaranteed never to go obsolete. And even if, say, like movie formats are like crazy and abandoned in 5 years, they can be translated into new ones.
So they can always be backward compatible.
Well, it's like worse, it's a lossy translation. It's like, okay, you used a bad movie format and not one that we're using 5 years now, so we'll translate it, and you lose some quality, but whatever. You still actually have
access to the actual item.
But like plain text, there are a lot of languages out there. Is it in Unicode so that it?
Yes,
it's searchable.
Everybody uses UTF-8 now.
I mean, the general idea of the wiki software, you're not editing HTML directly. You're editing. They have their own markup format, which is it's mostly plain text with a few things to mark bold or indentation, or paragraphs and that kind of thing. Just spaces.
Yeah.
So that's the general wiki software. And there's obviously a lot of wikis on the web outside of Wikipedia. They implement. MediaWiki is probably one of the most popular implementations, so that's what and a lot of other non-Wikimedia sites actually use that as well.
So you
but you're editing.
You're typing in there. You can't like cut and paste. Do something. Say you have an HTML5 and invalid, for the W3C.
Actually,
and
if
stuff
you
like
insert
that.
HTML,
You're dependent on whatever.
If you insert HTML, it will be properly interpreted as well. Because there are these markup codes, but you could also use HTML tags, and
it's not preferred.
Not a lot.
More intensive. I think your issue is that there's essentially metadata and there's other blobs of data like transcriptions and things.
Yeah.
And so and your concern is that those are in some possibly obsolete, going to be obsolete version of HTML? And the answer is that there's that on top of that, there's a markup language that you're actually using to input the stuff. There's also templates. And so if you wanted to convert that to some other system, an automated process could deal with that a lot better than the thing that you're fearing, which is, oh, this old HTML, it's not XML, it's a horrible disaster, and we can never scrape the page accurately. That's not really an issue anymore.
The basic strategy for migration
are already pretty much in place.
You can import and export with all the little pieces and not have to wait
the stuff is
for
more
something in the
permanently tagged
background.
than Netscape Navigator.
Okay, I wanted to move on because so far I've only talked about Wikisource, so I might help answer some of the questions that actually came. But this is Wikimedia Commons, which is the file repository or media repository for all of the Wikimedia projects. So if you have something that's freely licensed or public domain, like most of the things at the archives, we prefer that people upload them to Wikimedia Commons because that means you get to use it on all of the Wikimedia projects that are so this is the main page of Wikimedia Commons, and there we are again. If somebody can figure out how to get us on the English Wikipedia's main page, then we'll have the trifecta, and that would be cool. Stricter.
That can be arranged.
So this is our project hub on Commons. So the first thing, just show you. This is So this, as I said, uploading as we speak. This is the feed of the uploads that we're doing right now. And actually, this was from this morning. So if I refresh, it'll be different. Okay. So there doesn't happen to be any textual documents right here. So I had one ready. This is completely new. As of like last night's new feature. So this is a document that we uploaded. I just want to show you because we were just talking about Wikisource. If you come to a textual document on Commons where they all live, you'll now see this little button here that says transcribe this document. So all you do, click it, and this is what you'll get. So you get, this one's already been transcribed to some extent. So there's text here, which darn, it's already validated too. So you get
you don't need to do it.
So this is like it's like what we want to do is the National Archives has volunteers, or we want to be able to funnel as many people as we can towards transcribing these documents, and you shouldn't need to already know how to do it. So this is just kind of, there's some descriptive text at the top introducing you to the project, and then you would be able to just type into it. That's the idea.
Are you going to enlist the, say, like NARA volunteers to start doing this stuff? I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, that's well, we haven't done that yet, but that's my plan. Yeah.
But it sounds like Peter's doing some of the work, the preparatory work by downloading the stuff in terms of getting it ready for you,
right?
Like this, so that then you just click the button and then it will help you.
Yeah, that's the idea. You click the button and then you can type into the screen. Right. You shouldn't need to know how everything works.
Something like this, I think, like OCR could do the first pass.
Right.
But it's not even written.
Right.
I don't know if that's done at all.
Well, a lot of if you get a text from the Internet Archive or something, it'll have OCR done. But MediaWiki doesn't have an OCR component yet.
Yeah, it should.
So yeah, it should.
It seems to me that it's valuable to have both the manual transcription and the OCR, whether the OCR has been corrected or not.
Yeah.
Because
you can see where the OCR was.
I don't know what the error rates are of people. So OCR does one pass, and then you fix it and help it up a little bit, and then but for a human sitting there monitoring that process, how accurate are they when they're fixing OCR versus how accurate are they when they're doing it manually is an interesting question. In other words, I'm saying you might get more errors and inaccuracies from somebody correcting an OCR than you might from somebody doing a manual transcription. So having them both around seems like a good idea.
It's interesting, but there's also the speed issue with OCR, so it's quicker to edit an OCR document than to do the whole thing from scratch.
I have a related question. Yes. Does on Wikipedia you have the auto-confirm status, and I'm wondering if there's anything like to keep some wise guy from clicking transcribe and pasting in, something about Viagra or what have you.
Wikisource is actually constructed in a kind of unconventional way where, as I showed you transcribe in a completely different namespace.
Yeah.
Then you have an index page that lists all of the pages in the document. And then in order, to get the main space page, like where the encyclopedia article would be, where the viewers from the web get there, you actually, there's some code where you include all of those transcriptions. So if you're a vandal that just happened upon Wikisource, you're going to see some template and you're not going to know where to go to vandalize it. Or if you came from here, then you're going to vandalize a random page that nobody's ever going to see because nobody's going to create an index for that or whatever.
Well, there's no reason to believe that somebody wouldn't make an automated vandalization tool, though, that can navigate that stuff very easily.
Don't give any idea.
Actually, people ask a lot about vandalism in terms of Wikipedia, but I have to say, intentional vandalism is one of the easiest things to deal with because it's easy to create automated tools to detect it. And it's easy just for humans to be able to revert it.
We've gotten much better dealing with vandalism on Wikipedia.
Vandalism isn't really a problem, even though you would think that with the concept of Wiki. The real problem is dealing with bias and things like that. So, and especially Wikisource is a very out-of-the-way project. So it's not really...
So it's the normal arms race, it's just that nobody has really bothered your attack.
Another question is about foreign languages. What about documents in other languages?
Well, Wikisource, like Wikipedia, exists in all languages.
Okay. There's a French Wikisource, a German Wikisource.
And there are actually, obviously, there aren't a ton of examples because it takes a lot of work. But in theory, Wikisource, like the English Wikisource, is a good platform for an editor to contribute an original translation of an original document from another language. And so we could do the same for, translating National Archives documents into other languages. But that's, pretty far down the road.
And there's some National Archives documents that are in other
There are,
languages.
yeah.
That would be great to have.
Right.
How did you come up with wiki, the word wiki, from the beginning of the
Wiki is actually the name of the software that allows you to edit a page.
But even before that, how did they...
It's a Hawaiian term meaning fast.
Wiki means fast.
Wiki means fast.
Yeah. It actually predates Wikipedia.
I'm not sure, but that's what I'm told.
There's a backronym that was formed that says Wiki stands for What I Know Is Ellipsis.
What about witches and stuff? Because I came across that somewhere, and that might...
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah.
It's spelled differently with a C.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe there might be... Because what happens with WikiLeaks, how do you get around that?
There's a big hat note
Were
on
they
the
allowed
Wikipedia article on
to put
WikiLeaks
leaks in
saying
front of
that
Wiki, and then here you got Wikimedia?
Well, so Wiki predates, the Wiki software predates Wikipedia. It's not like, we didn't trademark it or something.
It's not proprietary to
Right.
your
So it causes some
project.
confusion, but, they can call themselves Wiki whatever they want.
Yeah, there were wikis before there was Wikipedia.
There are a lot of other wikis besides WikiLeaks
It's just that
that
Wikipedia
aren't
is
brainstormed that aren't under the
.com
foundation.
and
There's a great
that
travel site
Wikitravel
called
here.
WikiTravel, which is the same approach.
This is what metadata looks like, by the way.
There's a great website called WikiLeaks.
So this was, one of the biggest challenges in the beginning was figuring out how to upload documents like these and actually preserve all the metadata. So this is what it looks like.
Can you show the source for that page so we can see what a template looks like?
Yes. This is going to be kind of scary. So this is the name of the template that created that table, and then these are all parameters. So this is just wiki code. Normal editing, like on an article, you don't really need to know all of this. Hopefully.
Although it's getting worse over the years.
Yes, but the actual text doesn't look this scary. But this is how you make it create all of that kind of formatting and everything. So this is what that page looks like. And if you looked at the code of the template, their brain would probably not like mine does, unless you're
My template geek.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how it works. So yeah, so just to get you, so in order to get this document on this page, it required the help of somebody who knows to do this complex template coding, who wrote a lot of these for me. It required somebody to write script in Python, another person that does the uploading. We have a tool that you enter in an ID, like the National Archives ID for each record. If you type that in, it gives you. I guess I should do something different to show you.
We created a new verb for this one.
So as you see, so you type in that code, and it produces this. So we've mapped the fields in the catalog onto template parameters, and that's how it produces
a lot of metadata.
So that was the third volunteer that did this tool, and finally there's one of the great things about Commons is we want to make things findable, and we want to let people use them on the projects. So what Commons really stresses, categorizing everything, like tagging on Flickr. In order to do that for 100,000 images, we had to create kind of a process for that. So this is the landing page for the categorizing project for Commons editors, and they would come here. And this shows each National Archives series that we've uploaded.
And the green means validated?
Yeah, or categorized.
Categorized.
So you can actually sort this. If I sort it by the amount done, and then you would find, if I find one that's partly done, these are a lot of small series. So, like this one is, there's three. But you'll see, each time if you categorize something, you go to this page, this has three, if you categorize something, an automated script will automatically update it and say it was done. Nobody has to touch these. But this is just so every time you go there, you get directed exactly to what your interest is, and then be able to categorize.
And just out of curiosity for this one, why wasn't the third one done?
It's just,
just sitting out there.
Yeah, you can categorize.
People probably found the other two for unrelated reasons. They didn't find all three as a set, so they did the other set.
Yeah, or maybe they were done for the day. And there's a total at the bottom, I think. Yeah, so we're over 60,000 now, which is more than half.
And that page itself isn't categorized?
Probably is. I'm sure it is.
Press the plus button.
Categorize.
So we're only 16% done with what the categories have uploaded so far, but obviously we're uploading at a much higher rate than humans can categorize. So we'll get there eventually. Do you have any more questions about comments? Yeah.
Is there any iPhone compatibility issues here?
You don't want to do this on iPhone.
It has been at the materials, not editing. Looking at the materials.
Looking at it. Sure. And it also has been discussed that there will be, the foundation is reportedly working and will be releasing soon an iPhone/iPad app that'll make looking at Wikipedia a lot, especially editing Wikipedia on iPad, which is a pain at the moment.
And I suspect other tablets.
Yeah, they're releasing it at least for Android first, is my understanding.
Okay.
And then, and there's even some idea of releasing a slightly better version that would be a paid version, so to create a revenue stream from that.
It's fascinating. It's amazing that what you guys are doing. It's really.
And I guess I'll mention
Kudos to
Wikipedia, since I didn't really talk about it much.
Whatever.
We kind of
obviously, the National Archives, if people are searching for, the Declaration of Independence, they're going to end up on Wikipedia. Archive.gov is not at the top of their Google list. So that's why we're interested in it, because we have a vested interest in making sure the articles are high quality. One of the things that we want to do are to be able to just help people do what they're already doing in writing those articles. And I guess that's what I'll say about that, because we do have food here. But if anybody has any last questions. So we're going to try to have lunch and then start the tours by 1:30. And then afterwards we'll go to the research room. Yeah.
For the research room, for those who haven't done it before, will we get a little help?
Yes. We're yes.
You know all this.
We're and also if anybody needs to get the research card, still now's a good time. It's upstairs by where you walk in.
We should re-emphasize what I just said. Anyone who didn't get a research card yet, you need to get one, or you will not be able to come with us later. So you need to make sure you
might want to use the opportunity to get property passes for
and you have to read through all the application.
If you have any, or scanners.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Question, well, today we're going to scan a lot of documents, so how do we contribute to
Right. Yeah. So this is what the process. This is so. Okay, get ready to be amazed. This is what we did last time.
Wow. That is amazing.
Now we scanned that and created the animation and put it all the
Well, actually, this is
a lot of
yeah, I scanned these. So this is like, I think, 50 documents. We actually scanned like 87 or something are in the category that we scanned. So this is what we did last time. These are all original scans from Wikipedians. So essentially, what we did last time was everybody scanned. Obviously it's not going to be one scanner per person, but it's kind of like it can be a multi-person job anyway because you need somebody handling the documents and somebody on the computer or whatever. We'll make it work. And last time people took documents home and uploaded them, and as long as we included them all in the same category, which I haven't. Last time I just created a category on Commons for them. August 2011, Backstage Pass, National Archives, and people put them in there, and then we could find them. And then the other cool thing is, once we could find them, then afterwards, now here at the archives, we took all of those scans that were in that category, and we described them, and now they're in the National Archives catalog as well, using our volunteer-produced scans. So that's the idea behind it.
So we go to NARA and we're going to find something there, the category that you're going to create, and we just link it there.
And I also I brought in a drive, so hopefully we'll be a little more organized this time. And it's still hopefully everybody's going to be uploading their own stuff, but I also just want to capture them, so we have our own copies here, so it's a lot easier for us to put them on.
Question, like the video room, or I don't know how it works in the photographs, but they give you like DVDs, and as the rule is, you can take 6 home with you, but for Fed books, you can do as many as we want. What are the rules?
Not on Wikipedia.
For the other rooms?
For today, can we take DVDs home?
Yes, but they're on
Probably not, but for the...
I didn't prearrange anything, but if there are any issues, then we can try to make it work. But we have enough people here anyway that we would, if we had 6 each.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so
how does it work for the scan, photographs? Do they give you
So for moving pictures and sound, a lot of that is self-service, so you'll be able to go there and grab things. For textual documents and still pictures, a lot of people already made some requests. So we're going to have carts with boxes waiting for us, hopefully. So we'll just go up there and grab those. And most not everybody made a request, but I think there were more requests than there probably are scanners. So we'll see. We also have three scanners, National Archives scanners there for people to use.
Somebody brought one. Somebody brought one.
Right, yeah, hopefully people brought some scanners too. And we have some loaner laptops that goes to scanners.
And there's 5 DVD duplicators, so you're watching that
and obviously, everybody, you don't need to scan things if you don't want, and you're welcome to transcribe documents or categorize or whatever you want to do. And if you need help figuring out how to edit Wikipedia, then there's a lot of people here that can help you with that. But let's have lunch first, and then we're going to have
go to get our equipment inspected?
You'll need to go up to the security desk, and they're going to have to write up like a